Yo, as we know, life is full of surprises, both good and bad, and the day-to-day journey is full of unforeseen obstacles, and sometimes it's hard for us to see our way through beyond the norm and mundane or where unscripted dreams live. Join us for thought-provoking discussions and interviews to help us navigate through the fog and create our own path. We are the Unscripted Dream Podcast, operating outside the margins to motivate and inspire our audience. So, today's episode is literally about the importance of composure, having composure. When I think of composure, I more so think of like composure being like having discipline, like being disciplined from a conscious standpoint. Like that's one of the first skill sets you learn as far as like having control of your mind. And what I mean by that is simply that when it comes to composure, say someone says something to you that rubs you the wrong way, or someone says something and you know that you're going to say something back that may not be necessarily received well or negative, you know, your first instinct, there should be a level of conscious there that should tell you, like, or give you an idea or a measurement of like what your typical or your potential response would be. Some people have that, some people don't. The people that don't have it, we call that people that don't have filter. They just say whatever comes out. We'll touch more on that, I guess, maybe. And then you got the other one where you may someone label that person that actually takes that kind of stuff into consideration. A person, you may label them as someone with good sense, so to speak. So, Marcus, as far as composure, man, which I think is something you practice very well, I I can't think of a time where you've been necessarily out of pocket. Maybe said some things that rubbed you the wrong way, but never something where it's just like totally unexpected from you. You've always had a sound mind when it comes to thinking things through for the most part, in my opinion. Like, can you walk us through like that process of how you process things? Maybe from, well, instead of just positive, yeah, let's just go straight into it. Like, how do you process things that you hear something that maybe ruffle your feathers a little bit?
So one thing, Jay opened it up pretty well, and it's really like thinking about just composure. So there's composure, and then we're gonna do an episode following this is walking yourself off the ledge. So we're gonna like that's a different level. Is when you're on the ledge. So
That's when you
the
fully
composure,
committed of
yeah, yeah.
sabotaging
So
everything.
I got I got some stuff there that'll be like, well, wow, but it's more so about maintaining yourself just in general, kind of just under pressure, and it's I think emotional intelligence goes into it like quite a bit, and just like kind of understanding. I think I've been like when I was younger, I was pretty even keel, a pretty even keel, and not a lot of people have really seen me be like upset or anything like that. I definitely get upset though. Let's not I'm not gonna lie, but it's one of those things where, like, having a lack of composure can really, like, set you back, and sometimes we'll probably get into is that sometimes, like, people are trying to set you up to, like, you lose your composure too, and it kinda boils down in these scenarios. What I think one of the ways I'm able to kinda stay, like, calm in those situations is just by not talking. Like, by not talking and just, like, trying to remove myself from the situation, but also just letting people get their points off too. And respecting that other people have their opinion. And I think maybe one of the things that's really helped me as I got a little bit older is that I just know people aren't going to agree with what I think. Like I know that, and they're not going to see the world the way I see it, and that's okay. Like it's fine with me, because why? Because we're like everybody's different. Like everybody's different, and I think that's kind of what helps me is that like why am I getting upset about something that is completely out of my control? And if someone's trying to egg you on or something like that, you kind of just like, all right, it is what it is. Let's keep it moving, or you just remove yourself from that situation. And I think that's what really kind of helped me. Or it's just like, I'll be like, it's not that deep. I'll be like, this not even, I said this stuff, but it's not even that serious. Like, I don't even understand why people are getting upset about, certain things and things like that. But I think it really boils down to, like I said, as I gotten older, just understanding that like people aren't going to agree with me and see things the way I see it. So sometimes it's just better for me to listen and that's it. Like I don't have to get my points off. I just kind of keep it moving. and go about my business. And I think that's where a lot of people can fall short with staying composed is that it's like, man, we got all these things that people would do. There's so many ways to get like to be enraged nowadays. And there's so many, we've placed so many modifiers on stuff that if you really want to get offended, you just pick your phone up, unlock it, just open up social media. You'll find something. You'll find something. It's easy. It's easy now to lose your composure. Like it's just everybody's opinion is out there.
Absolutely.
But I guess Joe, what helps you if you're pretty I mean, you're pretty composed as well. I mean, I can't really even think about a time where I think you like really lose it or anything like that. I know you for quite a while now. And it's so what kind of I guess outside of like natural demeanor, what kind of helps you kind of keep it together, just not kind of get stuck in the weeds.
I think it's one of those things where it's like I'm overprotective of myself. And what I mean by that is I'm on my own ass, literally. Like I'm literally on myself harder than anyone else. So what I see as me doing something may be to the extreme compared to someone else. And I think that that helps to a certain extent as far as like composure and when it happens. Like, oh, hey, there might be something real subtle where I'm like, hey, bro, you're kind of showing your hand. And realistically, no one's seen it. Like, unless someone like knows me really well, someone like Marcus would be like, okay, he's kind of moved by this. But outside looking in, someone that doesn't know me, most of the time I have a really straight face. So it's like subtle movements or subtle things I may say that someone that's been around me long enough may be able to know, like, okay, he's a little bit touched by this situation. But I would say the whole idea of me having self awareness in that regard, I think that speaks volumes. Like, I purposely don't walk into situations unless I'm willing to address them. I'm not saying that happens in every circumstance, but when you've been around the block a few times, or you have an idea of how certain conversations are going to be handled. You know how you're putting yourself in certain situations or whatnot if you've been living a certain way for a long time. So it's like, if I do walk into something that's going to like set me off or cause me to be riled up a little bit, already signed up for that. Already knew exactly that what I was dealing with. Like I don't go anywhere outside without me knowing what could potentially pop off. I'm not oblivious to that type of stuff. 10 years ago, yeah, you could say I'm a little bit more naive, absolutely. But a little bit naive, but more so daredevilish. But now it's like I already know what's gonna happen. Like, I'm not gonna go to like a bar and hang around a bar where there's rowdy people there and there's an argument that's festering up. I'm not gonna sit here and just watch something to unravel like my younger self would. My younger self would be like, "Oh, well, this shit is gonna be entertaining. Let me see what's about to pop off." Now I'm just like, you know what, man, we can't have nothing. So, I just walk out or I subtly move somewhere away where I can observe and I'll have that peace of mind to myself knowing that, it's not as much of a I'm getting out of harm's way is what I'm trying to say.
I think well,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead, man. I don't cut you off. But yeah, just understand sound like you're just saying you understand the potential of the situation, which is key.
Self-awareness is big, man.
Yeah. Which
Yeah,
is key because you don't know what these people are going like you don't know what other people
that
are
too.
going to do.
Yeah.
And you remind me, I just was thinking about this as you were talking. There's a show, I think it's on MTV, which is the greatest. I think it might be like something that you can go search the show on YouTube and watch it. You definitely gonna laugh because I used to watch this like pretty consistently. It's a show on MTV. Joe, remind me if I mean correct me if I'm wrong, but it was called Boiling Points. They would just
Yeah.
like these people would just it'd
Yep.
be like random people and they would just like screw with them and see how long it took to just get them to like essentially lose their composure and blow up. And then if you made it, like you would get some cash. But it's really that, like like it's a game.
And
It's really a game to, in a sense.
yeah, man, I totally used to love watching that show actually. That was like one of the more entertaining shows that MTV had at one point in time. That outside of their like dating shows, I think around that time they had like Next or something
Next,
like that. Yeah.
next, you see somebody get out the car, bro, and they immediately just next, and they be like, this stupid look on their face.
Yeah, man.
Hey, bro, you ain't even get a shot. and you get the shot, bro, just off a look.
That's
Crazy.
legendary. Legendary TV right there.
Look
Reality
that up.
TV at that.
Look up those clips if you got time. You got time.
So the point that I'm not trying to deviate too much, but the point that I'm trying to make here is like, as far as when it comes to like composure and like self awareness, or whether you're just reading the room, so just like full blown awareness, just looking and watching. And with time or experience, naturally, you're going to come to a point where you know what decisions to make, and you're going to know how to move. So like, I wouldn't expect a 20-year-old to have the same amount of composure or move the same way as someone that's in their 30s. I just won't give that to you, as far as like I wouldn't expect much out of you, because there's a lot of situations that you haven't been put in most cases, where you wouldn't know how to handle that. And that's okay. Like, there's still situations with me being in my 30s or whatnot that I've never been in, or I have yet to be placed in. That's fine. But I promise you that I've been knocked off my square so many times. I know how I would react. So I know how to more or less find things that would give me a peace of mind in situations that are unfavorable for me. And, when you get older, you know when you had enough. You know when you had enough. You can probably hear the most extreme news, and you know when it's enough to call it quits, where you need to do what you do to put you back to, somewhat bring you back to where you want to be from a mental standpoint. And I feel like the more you realize how important it is to keep your level of composure, because that's literally what's keeping you making the right decisions. That's what's keeping you successful. That's what's keeping you happy. Once you realize, or you build a strong enough foundation where you can find that happy place, I promise you, like, life gets better, your stress levels, your anxiety, all that goes away. This is like the art of having good health or good mental health. And, sometimes some people don't have the right, I guess you could say, parenting, but I think it's also come down to personality too, as well. But some people don't have the right mentorship in the way. Like, some of the people you're around are just as dramatic, if not maybe even more dramatic than you are. And, I don't know how to get in the middle of that, as far as like having you learn that experience for yourself. But I honestly like encourage certain outlets as like therapy, maybe even like picking up like martial arts or something like that. Something that really challenges your psyche, as far as like disciplining you, and from a mental standpoint, to where you can really like learn how to channel some of that energy. All the negative energy that we take in every day doesn't go anywhere unless you choose to do something with it. So that negative energy that usually comes to me in situations where somebody I don't know that may approach me and say some left-sided, some off the wall stuff to me. You know what I'm saying? I just process it, and I'll be like, well, hey, you don't know me. I don't know you. Maybe you having a bad day. I'm not gonna let you mess my day up just because your day is jacked up. Yeah, it's unfortunate that what you did to me was disrespectful, but Imma let that one roll off my back, just because you just don't know who I am. You don't know how I'm cut. Now, if you put your hands on me, clearly that's a whole different type of challenge, right? But if you're saying something and it's not messing my money up, it's not messing up where I lay my head, you're not endangering people that I actually love and care about, then, there's really not much else to really like give you power. You just take that energy and you use it as motivation, what I would like to do. But if you can't even do that, sometimes you just got to accept things. And, my father's favorite quote is, it is what it is. You just got to take it for what it is and keep it moving, man. Like, that's all you can do with it. Like, it's dead weight. So, what do you do with dead weight? You just leave it there. Like, you can't do nothing with it. So don't even try to take on more problems that are out of your control. As Marcus said, if it's out of your control, it's out of your control. Like, I think that's the big problem with people as far as composure. They spend too much time, I'm guilty of this as well. They spend too much time trying to find a solution, trying to process things that don't even add up to begin with. I feel like that's how a lot of people get caught up and lose their composure in a lot of situations. They're too busy trying to like come up with a solution, or trying to calculate everything, and, trying to like make things make sense. And they may make sense later, but right now, you know what I'm saying? You kind of can't process that, just because, you're about to lose it. You kind of have to build up to those type of that level of thinking. And maybe that level of thinking is not necessary until you put yourself out of a situation that could mess up your status.
Yeah, I was watching this David Goggins. If you're not familiar with who David Goggins is, I think he's a Marine. I wouldn't even call him a motivational speaker. I think he's just like being him, and it's motivational. Like it's kind of just like that's how I kind of see him. But I was watching this little clip on him, and he was saying that like every day he wakes up and he like just prepares for a worst case scenario, regardless of how his day goes. He just thinks about like all the bad things that could happen, and then he just kind of goes from there. I know that can seem kind of for some, it probably will seem kind of negative, but it's like you prepare for the worst case scenario. But if you prepare for a worst case scenario, then like you relatively be not saying it won't phase you, but it won't be as great if you can prepare like, oh, I'm
So,
going to the store.
so in
That's
other
why I might
words,
say something crazy.
my bad. So in other words,
Maybe,
what you're saying is it takes away the shock value a little bit.
yeah. So people can't really like test you like that. Like last night, I was out. I was out rarely. Rare time me being outside, and
Yeah, what were you
like
doing out?
somebody was doing something, and I was kind of looking like, man, that might be a little offensive, but I was like, man, it's like this person doesn't really understand what they're doing, like really doesn't, like they really don't know. But I was like, what they're doing is probably gonna make other people uncomfortable. So I was like, I was like, chill out, just like stop what you're doing. It is what it is, and that was it. Like, we kinda moved on, but there's another scenario where I get all upset, and then it makes it awkward for everybody, and it's like, but if you go out and you kinda prepare for people to not, because this was just it's really just an act of ignorance more than anything else. So I was like, "Man, listen, stop where you at now, it's probably for the best," and the person was like, "Yeah, I'm not gonna do that." I said, "Alright, man, let's keep it moving," and that was it. That was really it, and it was over after that, and I think in that sense, I made everybody's night a little better. But it's just understanding that, like, we can lose control of ourselves, and understanding just as a precautionary measure, like, how does that feel? What does it look like? So, I mean, I think we have a couple of options. Like, when we start to feel like you feel like your blood boiling and stuff, and you just like you start to see red, and like one option is you can completely lose it. You just go off the rails. What's the cost? Like, what does that cost you if you do that? And then there's another scenario where you maintain complete control. And then what's the cost there? And what does that outcome look like for you? But the thing is, like when you hear about like a crime of passion, and that's when like your logic or when your emotions completely overclouds your logic, and it's done. Like it's like you almost have blacked out, and that just is what it is. So if you have, like I've been upset before, and I've had like 5 seconds to pull it together. And that pull it together, yeah, I'm upset, but that pull it together upset is better than completely fall apart and just go nuts. And then something like unfortunate happens. And then maybe you're in jail, or maybe you've like burned some relationships or something, like maybe you've pushed things beyond repair pretty much because you've went too far. So it's like, man, like sometimes I think like some people should just get mad and just run away, like run in the opposite direction and don't care how silly or how stupid you look, because you're saving yourself. Like you're saving yourself from doing something stupid, and not stupid, but well, yeah, it's kind of stupid. But it's like your emotions, it is possible. And that's the whole thing with composure, is that when you lose it, it's your emotions overclouding like the logical decision that you probably should make in that decision. But our emotions are very powerful. And that's important to understand in like why like EQ, emotional intelligence, is important. Because if you might have 3 seconds to make a decision. And it's either you crack somebody over the head or you run away. Like from the situation, you just completely remove yourself. But if you have presence of mind to at least grant yourself 3 seconds when you know it's building up, you just know take a walk. Like take a walk. It's just like live to fight another day, instead of like do something that'll change your life like in a negative way.
And this is the reason why I'm not much of a drinker these days, but because of that, right? I realized when I started drinking or whatever, I wouldn't say my emotions fully came out, but my what I like to call my BS meter. Y'all know what that is. My BS meter, you know, that thing goes off the rails. Like, I have no tolerance for it. So like whenever someone says something off the wall, I'm just quick to just snap like that. Like I'm quick with the comebacks if you know me as a person. But a lot of people call me smart ass. But just imagine, in my natural state, I'm a smart ass with quick comebacks. I'm pretty witty in that regard, right? So imagine, you being under the influence, that's magnified to like the 10th power. So you're probably a really funny and comical dude at times or moments or whatever. But at the same time, that can get you in a lot of heat. So, there's been situations in my life where I'm not necessarily proud of. Well, I look back at them and laugh at them, but I'm still not proud of them. Where, I've been in situations that were totally unnecessary. And it's all because, I should have had a muzzle in my mouth and I didn't just because I was under the influence. I'm not saying that this is true in every case for everybody, but for most people, it's usually you're under their influence where you get into these situations that you don't want to be in, or you're in a really bad situation as far as like from a life standpoint, maybe you got something going on from you, like maybe you lost your job and that meant everything to you. Maybe you lost someone close to you that meant a lot to you. Like there's a lot of reasons why people have problems or issues or they're carrying a heavy load, so to speak, on their back. And, I think a lot of people need to realize like in those moments, it's very critical for you to really monitor yourself, be responsible for yourself, understand that you're short fused. So if you know you're on that type of time, why would you go out and do things and hang out with people if you know you're on a short fuse? That's just setting yourself up for disaster. If you know you're a hothead, why are you carrying a firearm on you and you're going somewhere out? Make it make sense. I even got a better one for you. If you need to carry a firearm to go somewhere, why are you going there? You get what I'm saying? This is the type of level of thinking that you need to have from a composed mindset. You know what I'm saying? I didn't get this far by just being reckless. I got here this far because I thought things through before I actually even flirted with the idea of doing it. You know, that's how you win. That's how you hold on to what you have. That's how you keep yourself together. And I feel like from coming from a young person mindset, arguably like 18, 20, 21, 22, like mid 20s even. That may sound like whatever, blah, 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 I got it, but you really won't understand it until you're out of that situation. So when all those days where you're out there being reckless or whatever, having fun and whatnot, when that time has come to pass for whatever reasons, maybe you got more responsibility under your belt, maybe it's just not exciting to you anymore, which both situations happened to me at the same time. You look back and you're just like, you know what? Man, I done some really dumb stuff, man. And I really realize now that I could have handled all those situations 100% better just because my attitude wasn't right. You know what I'm saying? I shouldn't have went out that day because this was messing with me. And all of a sudden I got into these unnecessary conversations or these unfortunate situations happen to me all because I wasn't there mentally. I wasn't straight. And I pride myself as far as composure, man, just because, man, it gets you so far ahead of life. Like, you know, having composure, man, it's nothing like it. Like, like your rationality is just top tier, especially during difficult situations. What's wrong with telling people, you know what, let me get back to you, man. I don't really have an answer for you right. I like saying stuff like that, especially when I'm rubbed the wrong way. Like sometimes you got to get in front of it so it doesn't escalate. Cause someone could say one hot word to you and you're like, what? You know what I'm saying? You're like, what? You be ready to slap them in the face, slap fire right out their mouth. And it's all because sometimes you need to you need to set a boundary. So essentially what I'm trying to tell you is you need to set a boundary with yourself. And sometimes the best way to set a boundary with yourself is to be like, hey, you know what? Let me get back to you. I don't necessarily have an answer right now, but best believe I'll get back to you on that. Sometimes that's what it takes. And it's up to you whether you want to readdress that situation or not. But at least it puts like a boundary right there between you and whoever else you may be getting into it with, or whoever's like trying to, verbally attack you or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like it puts a boundary there. Like who cares what they say after that? Just say, hey, let me get back to you. They can't do nothing else after that. Not much else. Let's just go away from the confrontational piece. But as far as like composure though, man, like I feel like if it's done right, you'll always leave a good impression on people. Like I've never heard anybody so composed to the point where people get so pissed off at them because they're so composed. Like they may say, like, oh my God, like this dude, you can't shake this dude for nothing, blah, blah, blah. But it's more or less like taken as like a level of respect, is it not? So they could say whatever, but at least they know that they're not getting under your skin about something. So in the form of that, they're giving you your respect. You just have to see it that way, unfortunately. With some people, they think that their ego or their character is being attacked just because they're choosing the high road. And realistically, it's one of those situations where in the long run you win just because you didn't lose your peace. You didn't do anything crazy. You know what I'm saying? There was no outlash from the situation. Sometimes you have to, I guess there's no better way to put it. You just got to be the better person and you just got to know when to walk away from certain situations before they escalate. You know, that's your peace of mind. That's your power. Like no one took your power because you didn't lose your cool. I've lost my cool several times, a lot of times. I know Marcus says for the most part I'm pretty laid back, which I am, but that still doesn't mean that it's never happened. Like he's seen me on 10 before, and it's not a pretty sight. And who wants to be mad all the time? I don't. Do you? Because I don't. It's never it's a lose-lose situation. Every time you lose your cool and be mad, it's a lose-lose situation, man. Think about all those people sitting behind bars. Think about all those people that lost their best jobs, their best opportunities ever, all because they wanted to lose their cool. It takes seconds to pretty much lose everything you stand for and everything you represented, lose everything you have. But it takes your whole life to gain it. Think about it.
Yep, so